Hi, welcome. Thank you for checking in. Today we're going to make everyone's favorite spaghetti al pomodoro. It's very quick, very simple. We're going to make enough for 5 people and we're going to start with the sauce. So you need a pan big enough to hold all the ingredients. We're doing this for about 5 people, 4 or 5 people. To get started, olive oil in the bottom of the pan, getting the pan quite nice and hot, and you need quite a bit. Coat the pan well, and if you're using good olive oil, you've got the benefit of all that gorgeous flavour. Now, despite what a lot of people think about how much garlic the Italians eat, it's not entirely true. And if you keep your cloves whole, you'll get a much more subtle flavour of garlic. Where if you use a crusher or if you slice, it's going to be much stronger. Also, putting it into hot oil like this, you're likely to burn it. So I like the subtle infusion of whole cloves of garlic into the oil. I'm using cherry tomatoes today. These have been washed, and I'm just going to drop these into the oil, and they're spattering because they're a bit wet actually. So it's important that you try and have them as dry as you can get them. Because what we're going to do is cook this on quite high heat. And these are all going to break down and create an emulsion of themselves. I'm going to put some dry oregano in and a bit of salt, a couple of teaspoons of salt. It's a nice loud sizzle, and it's meant to be that hot. Usually I wouldn't encourage you to cook so hot as that. And as these start breaking down, so we've just got garlic, olive oil, oregano and salt in there with the tomatoes. And as these start breaking down, we're going to start getting a beautiful creamy sauce developing. While we wait for that to happen though, we're going to cook the pasta. So now we're just bringing our water to the boil here. Very important that the water is very hot and that the pot is big enough. So there we go. Get that going. Alright, so I'm using an Italian pasta. I'm going to keep my eye on the sauce as we go here. Using an Italian pasta di cecco. You can buy this in most supermarkets or good delis, stuff like that. It's readily available. 500 grams is plenty for 4 to 5 people. You could probably feed 6 people if you're not too hungry. I need to have the water nice and hot. And actually, before I add the pasta, I've got to salt it. And when I say salted, I mean really salted. Like, like a tablespoon or so of salt. So that goes into the water. As soon as that comes back to the boil, we're going to add the pasta. Keeping an eye on our sauce here. It's beginning to come together now. You might just turn the heat down a little bit. Okay, our milk is boiling. So you don't break the pasta, you just fan it out as you drop it in, like that. And push it down into the hot water. Use your tongs. And you're really going to need to agitate it a little bit for the first minute or so, just until it softens. That will stop it all clumping together. Lots of nice sounds in the kitchen here. This is very quick pasta sauce. Just everything gets cooked in a matter of time it takes to cook the pasta. It's wonderful. So you can see they're all nicely separated. I haven't used any olive oil or anything like that in the pasta water. You don't. Okay. See how they're separated quite nicely now. I'm just going to put the lid on. and we'll check that in a couple of minutes. In the meantime, we've got our sauce here. Now, these tomatoes are going to start breaking down and become this lovely creamy texture. You could use tin tomatoes if you needed to. It's the same principle though. Just do it over high heat and encourage this emulsification through stirring. Okay, so that heat's, I've reduced that heat. I'm just going to get it back up again. But you can see, as the tomatoes break down, how we're starting to get our lovely sauce starting. It's a bit of a leap of faith, I know, sort of throwing it in like that on such high heat. I'm not usually a fan of really high heat, but this will create something absolutely delicious. Now, because I'm using quite a big pan, I need to be careful that I don't lose a whole lot of the juices or that it burns on the bottom. I'm using a pan this size so that I can actually dress the pasta here. Just have a look. There we go. That's how fast you want your pasta water boiling too, by the way. Another thing about pasta, pasta waits for no one, so you really need to have everyone ready to eat this as soon as it's served. See how now we're getting this lovely sauce? That looks absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to have a bit of a taste of that. See if it needs some salt and pepper. Doesn't need any salt, but I think a bit of pepper, and I'm going to turn that heat down now again. What I'd quite like to do is lubricate it with just a little bit of the pasta water, just to loosen it up a bit in there. You don't want this pan drying out before the pasta's cooked. We want a nice juicy sauce, okay? Okay, now that pasta is just about ready. You have a look at it. Still very firm. It's got to be al dente, so there shouldn't be real bone in it or anything like that, but it should be very firm to the bite when you start dressing the sauce. And the reason for that is the pasta is going to continue cooking while it's being dressed. And, you know, I think Australians are a bit guilty of really overcooking inferior pasta, which makes it not particularly enjoyable to eat. So, this is looking good. So we'll try the pasta one more time. Needs a bit more to go, about another less than a minute, I would imagine. It's going to keep putting a bit more juices in there. Or just pasta water is all we're doing. Do you see how that's just broken down so beautifully now? If you were using tin tomatoes, I reckon the best ones to probably use would be to use skinned cherry tomatoes if you could get them. I mean, we're going to have skin in this sauce, which isn't ideal, but it's just the nature of this particular one. You can be a lot more proper about it and have, only use skinned tomatoes and so forth. But this is just a nice way to make a lovely, quick, easy tomato sauce. Okay, let's try this. Oh. Okay, that's ready to start adding So what I'm going to do is bring the pan, you can drain the pasta and reserve a bit of water, but what I'm going to do, because I want to add quite a bit of water to the sauce, I'm just going to start adding the pasta direct from the pot. The idea is that you've got to completely amalgamate every strand with the sauce, and you really want to get a bit of, pasta water liquid into there. So you don't keep adding olive oil to make this sauce nice and juicy, you just keep adding a bit of pasta water. And add the pasta incrementally. Don't add it all at once, otherwise you'll chock up the workways, Now I'm going to add a bit of the cheese at this stage. Rather than add it at the table, adding it into the dressing is a very effective way to impregnate all of the pasta with the cheese. Now, I don't know how long this has taken, but probably no more than 10 minutes, which is pretty good. It's going to grab a cup or a jug just to get a bit more of that pasta water in there. The other thing you've got to be careful of, if you're low on sauce, it's important you just don't keep on adding pasta to use it all up. You're better to have what you've got very well dressed and delicious than bulking it out with extra pasta. As you see, I've got a little bit of pasta left in here, but I think I've added about as much pasta to this as I can get away with. And the other thing that you'll notice is you can see a bit of liquid here at the bottom of the pan, but that will actually be absorbed by the pasta over the next few minutes. That's basically good to go. I've got a heated dish. I'm going to put it on a serving dish that's ready to eat. I expect everyone already at the table.